What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers. Joining me to talk about the New York Jets and their team needs for 2024. Help me out, Mr. William Yanish III over at FirstRoundMock.com. How you doing this afternoon, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Logan?
Doing well, man. Doing well today. And excited to talk about these Jets and what they can do to bolster their team and get better in the NFL draft. But before we start, guys, if you guys like the episode, give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. Also, go download our podcast every single week. And be sure to tune in on Thursday, April 25th for our live draft coverage starting at 7:30. All right, so William, let's talk about these Jets, man. Obviously, a disappointing 2023 season, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers going down in the very first couple of minutes of action. And they just could never really get things going as a unit overall. So, obviously, a team that has a lot of specific, unique needs. What do you think they need to do to get their team looking good come 2024?
Oh man, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line.
Mm,
Just like what you're saying just happened to Aaron Rodgers. The Jets, they're an interesting case. With this new regime and Robert Saleh, and with Nathaniel Hackett at OC and that kind of stuff. They I don't know how much time they got left in New York. They've got to do something. And they tried to go all out last year. But they've got players at the skill positions like none other. They're running backs, wide receivers, tight end. They have everything possible, but and but they never upgraded the offensive line, and I don't think they drafted a lineman until the fourth round last year, and maybe it was third. I don't know, but it's absolutely insane. They have lost a ton in had a ton of ads actually in free agency between Mike Williams from the Chargers. They traded for Hassan Reddick. They did get a lineman and Tyrone Smith, but who really thinks that Jerry Jones is going to let a good lineman just walk out of town?
mm.
They also ended up with Morgan Moses from Baltimore to trade for him. Another couple offensive linemen for depth, but they've been out there. But that is just one thing I cannot stress enough, because that's like Daniel Kelly was saying last year, because the Jets are quite a personal thing to him, and listening to him talk about how they didn't draft any linemen, and then watching Rodgers go down, and
Yeah,
I was like, oh dude, as
like I
soon
said,
as I saw
it came
that.
back to bite them almost immediately. We see a
Dude,
lot of teams that get some mid-season or so, but for them, it was their very first game. It was their very first drive. I mean,
yeah,
it was rough, and that's what got your quarterback injured. That's what got him a
yeah,
torn Achilles, and he missed the whole season. And that's what led to
yep,
the just drama and whatnot with Zach Wilson, Robert Sala, and that whole debacle. But no, I'm with you, man. They got to go with that first round pick. If you don't go offensive lineman, I don't have any hope for the Jets this year.
no, they've,
Have to
dude,
shore up that O line. If you don't, I don't know what they're doing up there in New York, but they're not trying to win football games. I don't think. But
no, and
that's my biggest key. They got to get, if not obviously first round, you got to at least get, I would say, a couple of O linemen somewhere in this draft.
yeah, that's just obvious, and with how much, like I mentioned, how much more time they have it in New York. What are they going to do at the quarterback situation? Aaron Rodgers. Look at him. That's a major injury to be overcoming, and then not having any backup plan. They've got Tyrod Taylor and Zach Wilson. And I mean obviously those things aren't working out. And is Nathaniel Hackett working out at offensive coordinator?
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, I would say the Jets need to focus on offense super heavy. We mentioned the O line. You got to get a backup quarterback for Rodgers because, like you mentioned, Tyrod Taylor. I mean, he's had good moments, but Can he lead a team if Rodgers go down again? I don't know. We saw Zach Wilson struggled after they drafted him top 3 overall all those seasons ago, never panned out. So first things first, shore up your O-line. Then I would say you could maybe wait a couple of rounds to get a decent backup quarterback. There's a lot of them in this draft. But
Rocky Lombardi.
right, there you go. You got to get some better wide receivers too, man. It feels like an old folks home out there. Besides, Garrett Wilson and a couple other guys, I mean, they have a lot of guys who've been in the league for quite some time, but you got to get some fresh legs out there.
Yeah.
It's just you got to shore up that offense, man. The defense, I feel pretty solid about with New York. Defense,
very much indeed,
ain't bad at all. Defense is your strong point. Offense, you got holes like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's the thing with being a defense-minded head coach or something, and defense is
gotta be it. I mean, obviously you got Sauce Gardner, who's been lights out, and I mean,
oh man,
besides Garrett Wilson at your wide receiver position, you really need some other sure hands if you're New York on the wide receiver room.
Yeah, that is one thing for sure. They've got a couple of young tight ends, Tyler Conklin, but they also, Corey Davis, he was always hurt, at receiver. So, I mean, that's not a loss at all. And, bringing in Mike Williams, but Mike Williams, I mean, what's he done in the league? He's had, one excellent year and, a few others that were okay. But I mean, other than that, what's he done? I mean, there's so many things to decide on this team, and they have to do with, I don't know how much job security they think they have, because that's going to play into their draft somehow. Whatever tone they're getting out of management, out of ownership, then is something that they have to look at, and they have to get it taken care of now, because if they don't draft O-line, I mean, they might be they might get sacked in the middle of the season, no pun intended.
Oh, and on that note,
yeah.
What are your final thoughts, man, about these Jets? Any other needs they need to fill, or just anything you want to drive home?
They've never had a quarterback, man. They need a quarterback. I'd just drive that home, and drive home, protecting your quarterback. Once you have one, protect him. I don't know, man. I can't stress that enough with the situation. And
I was about to say, Aaron Rodgers ain't getting any younger. You already got a season gone from him already. And unless you build around him, unless you build an O-line, unless you get some better receivers, I don't see them doing a whole lot better out there in the AFC East. We know Buffalo is still up there and still trying to do their thing. I know they've taken some hits in this offseason. The Patriots have been trying to get better and better for a couple of years now. In Miami, they've, locked and loaded again, trying to get things looking good. So it's not getting any easier for New York, and they've got a lot of holes to fill. But we will see who they go with in the 2024 NFL Draft. Mr. William Yanish, appreciate it, man, coming on the show talking about the Jets and their team needs. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, enjoy your weekends. We'll talk to you on another live episode. We'll see you soon.
Come see me at first round.